Hello, Facebook world, Twitter, and YouTube. Am I coming in? Yes, you guys can hear me. I have Victoria Eloise back live with me. And last week we got cut off. We had a technical problem with the internet feed, but we were talking some interesting stuff. And Victoria is just an amazing woman, a researcher. She has her degree from UConn and was a therapist until she got ALS. And instead of taking something that is really hard and tragic and being just sitting there doing nothing, she decided to be the just get out there and do stuff, research and expose these truths for us. So she's an absolute pleasure and she does some amazing research. Thank you for coming back on. So
My pleasure.
a busy woman. And so this week, guys, so just to recap real quick, there was something we came upon that we kept getting cut off of, but
Yeah.
you had followed the money to say, we don't have to go through the slide because you got this really hot post right now, but you had followed the money to the point where we are paying for these millionaires' mansions, right?
And really important millionaires like like the head of DAS, the head of the Department of Administrative Services, the head of, so many board members, so many like the people you see on TV talking about their love and dedication, the executives, that their love and dedication to rights and this. Ah, it's them, which is bananas, and yes.
Found this, and you guys can, Victoria can tell you guys how to do this too. There's a post you shared a while back, and we should repost that again. Just letting folks know you could do this research yourself. You can go and you can look, and find this stuff out. But you follow the money, and there it goes. Like, why are millions of dollars going to this mansion? And where was it last week? It was like Westbrook or something. Like,
What was Weston? 2.5 million, 7,200 square feet.
wow.
Like, how much space is that? Like, what could you possibly need? And that is the head of finances in Connecticut.
The word
So,
that money is going to that mansion as a company.
yes, and Lamont appointed him. He Gabal was a former IBM executive, CEO. No experience in community policy, okay? But him and Lamont, they were boys. They knew each other for a while, Harvard. And so yeah, you know, they knew about each other's money. And so it's like it's like the people who definitely shouldn't be doing this are doing it.
So they're robbing us blind. So they're like, all right,
Why?
robbing us blind, and we can. It's so. I mean, just like a root. So like as soon as you start to dig this up, there's so many levels and places it goes. So tell me about what you've been into today. Tell me about what you posted up. Should I pull a slide up, or should we explain?
It's just the post that I just posted most recently today. And so I will just read. I'll just read what I wrote in the header here because it really explains what's about to come. Um, so a Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So a substan well, we've been talking a lot about conflicts of interest, right? What constitutes a conflict of interest? Oh my God. Oh my God. So I will go right into it. Now all this information is from the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Connecticut Constitution. This stuff is right off. It doesn't get more reputable.
Yeah.
So
Fake news.
no, no. And all you have to do is look through the posts and you'll see, shut. This is not fake. So, there are different kinds of conflicts of interest. Annie Lamont is doing the worst one you can. So, a substantial conflict of interest exists if a public official or state employee has reason to believe or expect that he or she, his or her spouse, or a business with which he or she is associated will derive a direct monetary gain by virtue of his or her official activity. So, Annie Lamont getting contracts from the state, which is also illegal, we'll go into that, that is a phenomenally sized, substantial conflict of interest. And that is a Class D misdemeanor.
What?
And excuse me, Class D felony and Class A misdemeanor. And I put that in this post as well.
Wow.
So last Sunday's Hartford Courant article claimed Anne Lamont had taken a position in one COVID-19 test company, right? Semaphore, we talked about that.
Yeah.
The Courant's claim was entirely inaccurate. Anne Lamont is not profiting off one COVID test company. She's profiting off at least 4.
What?
I have documented proof of the 4, and I had spent 3 days researching this and put a cap on those 4 before, but I haven't delved further into the other ones. So yeah, so right to this first picture here, where it's the article that says the governor. It's the CT Mirror article which I never saw, and it's a phenomenal article on May 26th.
Yeah. No. Wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes reporting the CT Mirror.
Another, not that this is my doing, but at all, I have messaged the CT Mirror maybe a dozen times. Like every time I have a post, I'll just send it to them. But this article, I underline the whole article is great, but I underline some important parts. So, Governor Lamont has seized the legislature's constitutional policymaking and authority.
Oh God, that's
Now, yes.
That's
And now, not to toot my own horn here, but I've been saying this shit all along. He does not have the constitutional authorities that he is exercising. His executive orders are bullshit. So policymaking authority well beyond any emergency powers granted to him under state statute. Okay, moving right to the next line. The governor no longer has any legal or moral justification to retain plenary executive power.
wow. That
So,
was May 26th. So this is like a month ago. I'm amazing that this was printed. Holy cow.
yeah. And it goes on to say the governor has now replaced us with highly paid out-of-state consultants. This gentleman three times the conservative caucus wrote Governor Lamont. This part's not underlined, but it's important. Proposing more effective and less damaging alternatives to his overbearing mandates. To date, each of those letters remains unanswered.
Oh.
Yeah. Instead of following state statute, Governor Lamont has created, which is totally illegal, has created his own reopened Connecticut Advisory Board, which his wife is on, a group of mostly out-of-state millionaires, which consider itself exempt from all government and freedom of information laws. I posted a while back, like, you cannot bar public participation in budget ongoings. Like they they replaced the public vote. They transferred public power and budgetary making authority to a town board of selectmen. That is a violation of the Freedom of Information Act. You can't do that. So, and then,
Heavy duty. Holy.
yes, this last line here, at every turn, he ignored the people's representatives and consolidated decision making power in himself. So this man,
This is huge, guys.
yes,
Oh my. So
yeah,
it's making like read that again. It's insane. At every turn, he ignored the people and more for himself.
and I've read a lot of history about the behavior. I mean, the last three of our governors were quite they broke some laws. But really, Lamont, this is a new era of law breaking and suspension, and it's really yeah.
Here's something that I want to just say that he's changing. He's changing people's lives over. Like he's not listening to the representatives of the people. He's stifled the legislature. He's acting like a king. And I say this, and I think people don't understand. They maybe think I'm too extreme or whatnot. But when like this sentence here, just the first sentence of this article and the last few sentences of this article open up with like, what are we going to allow, people? Like, this is illegal. And Annie Lamont has a portfolio worth $1.9 billion, and he's stacking his board with all of her buddies.
That is those. Oh, we'll see it in the next picture before I get into it. Oh my god.
So should we move on to the next slide?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's do it. So here we go. We got public officials and state employees. Am I in the right place?
So I think so. It should be. Let me forgive me here. Should be picture number. So sorry.
Okay.
There's having a little internet stuff going on here. There we go. So it should be conflicts of interest.
Conflicts of interest. Okay, yes, substantial conflicts of interest. So let me we'll pull this up for you guys so you can see it too. So this is all information that Victoria was able to follow. Let's just say this, we have the ability and the tools with technology to have information anywhere we want to search for it. And yes, there is information out there that is not true or fake or whatever, but this is fake information. This is actual information. This is factual stuff that Victoria found and researched. And it was funny, last week somebody said, well, who are you two to be discussing this? And like, who aren't we to be?
No one else is. Well, some people are.
So this
yeah.
information, and we need to talk about it, and we need to talk about it in a very public way. And I share this video, let it get out there. This is information. We need to do something, or he's going to destroy our lives. We have another 3 years of this guy, and he wants to open up our schools with these crazy things like, how are we with the buses 6 feet apart and running extra buses and having the kids in masks and gloves and all this insanity. And then there's no dialogue or proper legal due process for any of this stuff. And affects our lives in a very negative, real way. People have lost their businesses. There are people who aren't able to pay their rents. There are landlords, and landlords are not all bad people. Yes, there are bad landlords. There are people who are not able to pay their mortgage because their tenants aren't.
And the wild thing is, no one ever had to follow a single executive order.
It's just, it's
because there is no constitutional authority behind. There is no Supreme Court or lower state court has ever ruled on the constitutional validity of executive order in Connecticut. In other states, yes. States like Michigan, which is how, but not in Connecticut. So he's spitting out, I think it's like 100 now.
And
But I know.
RAG Tong, I remember this now, and that's why he did that. So our Attorney General,
Yes,
he he said it was all constitutional, but his
no, he is. He is not.
party, he's oh God, he's not.
Oh, I got a post coming on that one too.
Oh man, I can't wait for that because he's not my favorite Attorney General.
Yeah,
Somebody else.
yeah. So this is direct. So CCSU put this report together, but this is direct. This information is straight from Connecticut law, constitutional law. So there's a reason why I mentioned gifts and reporting requirements on the left, but we'll just talk about. So I mentioned on that first post, the header, it talks about conflict of interest, and it goes into define. So business with which associated is defined to include any entity through which business for profit or not for profit is conducted, in which the public official or state employee or a member of his immediate family is a director, and Lamont is the founding managing partner, lead director of Oak Healthcare and FinTech, or holder of significant ownership, right? So substantial conflict of interest. Required action. A public or state official, a public official or state employee must abstain from taking official action on the matter that presents a substantial conflict of interest for them. So they are violating Connecticut law on substantial conflict of interest policy directly.
Oh my word! Oh,
Beyond
so many ways. Like, okay,
so many ways.
so she's got the tests. She's got. I even. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I thought she had something going on with the PPE too, or the money is going there.
Yeah. Well, because the companies that are receiving PPE, and I actually posted about this also, they are receiving this money under the guise of certain assistance acts. So, grant assistance loans, manufacturing assistance act. These companies they're shells. Most of them are shells. They're trading under different business identifiers. They are getting gargantuan amounts of loans to companies that are not struggling or small. So, in every way, they are, I mean, yes. So also here on the left, and this will make sense for the next picture. So, gifts. In general, you may not accept gifts from restricted donors, okay? Restricted donors are lobbyists, individuals or entities doing business with your state department or agency. This includes contract entities, right? So a company that has a contract with Connecticut cannot gift Connecticut money. Now, that's important for the next picture. Another restricted donor, individuals or entities engaged in activities regulated by your state department or agency. Obviously, that's going on. So, reporting requirements. And I'm sorry, I'm going through this kind of fast, but I have a lot of pictures. So, should you or a public official receive anything of value that exceeds threshold dollar amounts from an entity doing business with, seeking to do business with, or directly regulated by your department or agency or entity, within 10 days, you must have a written report. Lamont suspended all these laws in which is the next picture. He suspended all of these disclosure, gift, reporting requirements in his executive order 7GG on April 30th.
Wow.
And there's a reason why he did that.
Wow, did you guys hear that? Holy cow. So I just wrote that he suspended the order. Wow. Okay, so I'm even seeing a pattern here with some, like, I know Whitmer, she suspended the state. The legislators were trying to take her into court in Michigan,
Yeah.
and she suspended the court. But, like, people, how are these governors getting away with this? How is Lamont getting away with this? Like, how are other
I don't.
people?
This is complete. You said it in last video. This is completely unsustainable, and with it being reported in the news, like CT Mirror, thing, Hartford Current, people are talking about this. I really, because you're right, it's totally unsustainable.
It's so unethical and illegal, and he's destroying
Yeah.
our state. He look, I mean, the unemployment rate, and it has been going up and up and up, and it seems like it's stopped according to the state's reporting, because I've been checking it regularly since the outbreak, and we are up to close to 600,000 people unemployed in the state of Connecticut. And Rensselaer Field, which I'm going to do a report on that soon. I did a report on it a couple months ago, back in like late April, and there was lines of people
Yes, for food.
food, and this wasn't typical of a regular day at Rensselaer Field. This is because of Governor Lamont's
Yes.
policies. People, do you hear this? This is criminal. We need to hold their feet to the freaking fire. Excellent work. Thank you, Victoria. Like, oh my God, I'm like hot in here. This is like, holy cow.
I know. And to that point you just said, I'll just say quickly, why the F are private, like these these some of these philanthropists, beautiful, like the one you just described at Rensselaer Field. Why are couples and family run businesses having to set up food stations? Where the hell is Lamont?
Yeah.
Is that not his job to worry about people not eating? Why, you know?
It's insane. His policies are these policies are responsible for the pain
Yes.
and suffering of citizens in the state of Connecticut, including our children who
Yeah.
robbed of, seniors in high school, robbed of their senior year, our young children robbed of the rest of their school year, and now they're talking, when I read about what they want to do with school, it is awful. We need to have accountability from them. They're not doing this for public health. He doesn't care. His wife is making billions of dollars off the medical industry. She's
With
left
our money.
with
With our money.
unbelievable. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Okay, so what's the next slide you got there?
Yeah. Picture number 2. I mean 3. Yeah, the next one.
Picture number 2. Let me catch it up there. Okay, I see some financial statements here. April 13th, 2018. Am I in the right place?
Yes, you are.
Perfect. I'll pull so you guys can see that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let us. What is this we're looking at?
So this is just a one quick recap of the company that was listed in the Hartford Current article, SEMA 4. And so I'll just read this. We already know of Lamont's involvement in SEMA 4 from the Hartford Current last Sunday. And family investments, blah, 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 blah. SEMA 4, like the article describes, is one of the healthcare startups in which Oak Healthcare and FinTech has taken a position, okay? SEMA 4 is a conflict of interest, okay? Now, so looking at these public acts, right? So in the middle picture there, there's a red arrow that says Public Act number 270. Okay. Now, on the bottom there, it says Mount Sinai Genomics, DBA SEMA 4, doing business as SEMA 4. So there really is no SEMA 4. It's Mount Sinai Genomics, a Delaware stock company. Okay? So now look over to the right there. So you see where it says these funds are requested to provide a loan to Mount Sinai Genomics DBA SEMA 4. It is absolutely illegal to use state money, whether it's a loan, whether it's anything, because that money went into a private investor company. SEMA 4 Mount Sinai Genomics are private. And guess who runs them? It's right in, if you look above there, semaphore, in the private healthcare portfolio of Oak Healthcare and FinTech, meaning she runs the finance. So they said, taking a position, a wrinkle, she runs the financials exclusively.
Oh yeah.
So she got 25 million. If you go, below that portfolio pick where it says a loan to Mount Sinai Genomics, she got $25 million,
God.
right? And it's,
Wait a minute.
yes, you cannot do this stuff.
How is this how is
It's
it
not.
not legal? But
Not.
how is she? This is insane to me that they're just doing this right in broad daylight. We have to hold.
Okay.
We have to hold their feet to the fire. We have to. We absolutely have to. It's imperative. This is insane. This is like it's like right there. You just pulled the layer that they it just.
Yes.
God bless you, man, because you really looked at something. Nobody's going to look past these layers like this. Like, and journalists are supposed to do this. So you're an investigative journalist. This is your work uncovering this. This is what investigative journalism is, because this is heavy duty. It's so right there. And look, I'm going to pull it because I had Annie's slide just
Yes.
there. So I have just her picture there. I'm going to pull it up again for the folks out there watching. Like, this is your Annie Lamont. Do you see what they're doing? Do you see what Victoria?
That's just one company. I get into three more.
Three more. Oh my.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Three more. This is a lot. So $25 million goes to a company, a private company, 25 million taxpayer dollars. And when we put that into perspective, when we actually put that into perspective, that's your tax dollars. So when you're struggling, your money that you're paying to the state of Connecticut to live here is going to people like Annie Lamont with a $1.9 billion portfolio while he's killing our economy with these awful laws that aren't even laws, that aren't even constitutional. The Connecticut Mirror was May 26th, right? So just tuning in, what you could do is follow Victoria Eloise and then go see this post for yourself. She's happy to make new acquaintances online and share this information with everybody far and wide. We need accountability here in Connecticut. He's going to kill our economy. People say, oh, we're going to leave. We're leaving Connecticut. We're leaving Connecticut. You know what? I don't really want to leave the state.
Yeah, I don't want to be run out by some dictator, and then all these problems remain, So, and
no, there could be another dictator if you don't stand and fight. You got to fight.
Yep.
This is huge. This is huge. That this isn't like front page news, like news right away. That it doesn't get picked up right away by a major news source. Well, it's not going to, because it's all a club and we ain't in it.
Eventually, though, as stuff keeps coming out, I mean, who knows? Who knows what will happen? But I would happily stand in any courtroom and attack. Not that what I say matters at all, but I would stake my life on this information. This is checked and rechecked and rechecked. So it's yes.
This is information. This is not stuff that's made up. This is all real stuff, guys. It sounds so. What I think people have a really hard time with, and I know I struggle with this too, because the more you look and the more corruption you see, it almost seems hopeless, and it's not, because this stuff is being talked about. That's a great article in the Connecticut Mirror on May 26th. That here, let me pull that slide back real quick again for audience to pull this up for you guys. So that's the governor must re-engage the legislature to reopen the state. So you guys can go find that in the Connecticut Mirror on May 26, 2020. Just type that right in there. Get that article out there. Start sharing that, and let people know. This is just unbelievable stuff here. He's destroying people's lives. This is a tyrant. He's like,
yeah, and I mentioned to you earlier, I was reading my pocket Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and he is the definition of tyranny. And I recommend everybody get a pocket Constitution. The one from Cato Institute, $5. You know, the big print, phenomenal, phenomenal. And it's like you go through it. You know, it's not little baby print, right? But you go through it, and it's like, well, that's not what they're doing. That's not what they're doing. That's not so.
Now, it's
Yeah,
a good idea, everybody. Seriously, though, because they're trying to demonize our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, and those
follow it.
on their own, no matter who was writing them. When you read that document in the Bill of Rights, it applies to all of us, every human, every color, every creed, every whatever sex you want to be, whoever you are, every beautiful human being.
Yes.
It applies to all of us, and it's such an amazing. It's a living law, like we can adhere to. It's just basic principles that we have to follow. And right now, we've been hijacked. Governor Lamont is
He's out of control.
yeah, and
Out of control. I wish we could make a citizens arrest. You know, shit, I would be there. I'm saying, look into the laws on that.
oh,
And
what's the next slide here we got?
next slide. So this is his Executive Order 7GG that I was mentioning.
Ah,
So,
oh,
and actually, a friend of mine, and I'm going to give her a little credit on the post. Jay, she, I find that people message me when they want to know if something is real, or like, which is such a compliment. But so she actually tipped me off to this order, and I'll just read the underlined parts. Okay, this is from April 30th. Disclose disclosure of certain gifts and campaign contributions by state contractors, prospective state contractors for state contracts over 50,000. All certification and affidavit requirements are suspended.
how does that help public health in any way? Or what is he doing?
There is no in-person body. Contractors, you just submit the paperwork online. There is no, you don't have to like be present with Governor Lamont. You don't have to. So, and then going down, for any contract entered into or any contract entered into on or after March 10th. Now that's gonna matter in our next slide. March 10th, the head of any state contracting agency, this is illegal, may waive the competitive solicitation requirements. So that means anybody who received a contract, that contract, part of Connecticut and federal law, contracts, proposals, requests for bidding have to be public. Have to be.
But I've always thought that's the
He suspended those requirements.
wow. That's very, very. Oh gosh, he does it.
There's a reason he did it.
Wow. So should we just click right over to the next slide? Is that taken up?
Whatever.
All right, let's go. Oh, state contractor and lobbyist provisions. Whoa.
We'll just go through this quickly, but I just wanted to give people, I want people to understand that there are laws they are breaking. I've said before, this is against the law, but I wanted people to see which laws. Like, this is hands down against the law. So, this is from the Connecticut website, SEC Home. So, state contractor provisions. The Connecticut General Statute prohibits state contractors, prospective contractors, principals of state contractors, including spouses, okay, from contributing to these candidates running for an office in the branch with which the contractor is seeking a contract. So you don't have to be a candidate. A candidate doesn't have, it's not a requirement that you are currently running. Okay, so if you were a candidate and you're now holding office, Okay? There are laws about who you can contract with. You're not allowed to contract with your spouse. Big no no. State agencies report to the or supposed to report to the SEC the names of their state contractors or prospective contractors which meet the relevant financial thresholds, having or seeking to obtain a contract valued at 50,000 or more. Remember that line in the executive order 7GG? Any contractor over $50,000 doesn't have to participate in bidding, doesn't have to disclose their identity. That is against the law. That is against Connecticut state and constitutional law. But he suspended them, which he has no legal authority to do. Now, moving right over, or the same picture, just beginning in fiscal year 2020. Now, this is federal law, but it also applies to states. Beginning in fiscal year 2020 and each fiscal year thereafter, this is a new law. No federal funds may be obligated or expended for purposes of procuring goods or services, meaning contracts, money, anything like that, at any business owned or controlled by a covered individual. Sorry, that was my cat. A covered individual or family member of such an individual. So it is now against federal, like this is undeniable law. You cannot use federal money, which they are doing. Your spouse can't use it. Can't.
Wow. Wow.
So yes. So we can even move right along if you want, unless you wanted to.
No, I'm just like blown away by this whole thing. Here we
Yes.
go. Komodo Health.
Look at this shit. Or excuse my language. So we already know about SEMA 4, okay?
Oh,
Komodo Health, now this was in January. Komodo Health secures 50 million in Series C funding joined by Oak Healthcare and FinTech. Okay? Look what Komodo Health, now on the picture on the left, on April 8th. Now, Lamont suspended disclosure requirements late April. April 8th, Komodo Health teams up with Chiropharm Therapeutics to accelerate new global clinical trial to treat COVID-19 patients. So, Annie Lamont is now partner in Komodo Health and Chiropharm Therapeutics. So it is not just SEMA 4, and there's more, which I also go into in later pictures. It is Komodo Health, Chiropharm Therapeutics, and yes, and also the company that is involved technically now. Who is this? Yes. So the gentleman.
this is like.
And this is great. This is great right here. If you look down, so it says Oak Healthcare and FinTech also joined the rounds alongside previous previous investors, including IA Ventures, which is a private capital firm, and Felice Ventures, another that is a subsidiary account belonging to a private equity firm. The latest investment enables the company to create new software for life sciences. So, and then it goes into, so it is beyond conflict of interest. So in January, she joins Komodo Health. In April, Komodo Health joins Chiropharm Therapeutics. So it is not one company she is doing COVID-19 tests for. It is 3 so far in what I'm showing you. There's more.
This is a big deal. Like this goes into everything. When you start to really think about the ramifications of all of this, of what they're doing, not only stealing the money, but creating policy that directly benefits these industries, these private for profit industries who call themselves healthcare. I'd say it's population control. And what I mean by that is to control the population, not they're controlling how you have babies, but that's part of it. But in a to extreme, but what I mean by population control, if you are all tapped into all of their health modalities and these things, that when you start to peel and get into these health industries and see what they want to do and how they want to track you and medicate you and shoot you with whatever biologic product they got for you, the newest thing, I don't know, a COVID shot every year. Oops, that didn't work every year, so you got to get it twice a year.
Who knows what's going? If these people are willing to lie and manipulate our healthcare system, our financial system, how the hell can we trust what's going on or what's going into that vaccine? I sure wouldn't.
Yeah, because they're not. It's not about our health ultimately.
No.
I'm stunned. I'm
Yes.
stunned of how deeply corrupted it is. And somebody made a comment. Yeah, it's like this probably in a lot of states because it is.
Of course.
All connected, this like money, like I've heard, and I don't know about California's governor as well, but my friends in California, and I saw a report on him being the governor Newsom is very connected politically, and Nancy Pelosi is mega wealthy, also connected, a deep family ties, and all this. It's like they
Sued.
with our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. It's a unique thing. It's not something that's typical in the age of humanity. We've always had to fight this aristocracy and these kings that rule over people. The fact that we have a constitution and a free society and a Bill of Rights is a big deal. And so we have to get it back. And we have to be diligent about protecting our rights and holding these politicians their feet to the fire because he's acting like a king. I'm stunned how evil and how blatant, and they just don't care. It seems. So
and I'll just read before we go on. I'll just read. So I talked about his executive orders again, but this if Governor Lamont had not illegally suspended Connecticut's disclosure and contracting solicitation requirements, Anne Lamont never in a million years would have been able to participate in Komodo Health and Chiropharm's production of COVID-19 testing. Never. It's illegal. It's against state federal law. So he suspended those requirements. And I truly believe this, and this is freaking well researched. He suspended those laws so that his wife could get these contracts.
So his wife could get these contracts, guys. These contracts, see, look at joined by Oak HCTFT. She's into all of this.
All of them.
Now, hey, anybody want to go and, dig more? Let's go dig into Annie Lamont. Annie Huntress Lamont has got her fingers in all this pie that Governor Hubby Lamont has himself in his executive orders written laws that allow him to skirt laws, our Connecticut state laws about what you can and cannot do and monies you can and cannot take. Wow. Thank you for your research, for doing this and bringing this to the forefront and being vocal about it too, because, in this day and age, people just don't want to hear it. And so they can get really cranky about it. And all the defending Lamont. I'm like, why are you defending him? He's destroying our state. He's destroying our communities. He's going to destroy our schools. This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. We have to stop this administration before they destroy the state of Connecticut.
Yes.
We have to. And just think about your state. Every state's got to think about their state more. We support each other state by state and help each other out emotionally, morally, spiritually, and when we can be in other states to stand side by side for our other citizens. But we focus on Connecticut. We focus on Governor Lamont. We focus on his administration and what his wife is doing. Oh, my God. Wow.
Wow. We got the best is yet to come.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I might have got out of line here with the slides. Let me go. So this was Komodo. So should we move on from them? Or are we done with this slide?
Yes, we can go to the next one.
Okay. Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's pull this up for the audience here too, so you guys can see it. So here we are, Komodo Health.
Right. So when a company, so this talks a little. This is the picture on the left here is just a reiteration of Komodo Health and Korea Farm Therapeutics. Okay. Now, when a company, which I've talked about before, when a company registers for whatever they register for, the first time they register, they have to do it through the feds, through the and their registry gets posted in the Securities and Exchange Commission. So these are directly Lamont is directly involved in these companies. Okay, so and I only was able to screenshot so far, but the number, if you look in the middle here where it says Korea Farm, the number of securities purchases of Korea Farm in the last, do you see that one there in the middle?
Yeah, I see the middle slide.
Yeah. So the number, you see how it says securities sale purchase record right there. And if you go over the dates, it says 6/17, 6/17. Do you see those?
Yeah, yes. Sorry, that's towards the page here. Okay.
Yes. So I could only fit in as much as I could fit in, but there are dozens of pages of securities purchases, which it gets called security, but it's really stock. So somebody is buying up millions of dollars in stock and that's how they do it. So they'll create a company, tell everybody all about it. People start buying now because Korea Farm people have purchased stock. Okay, anytime. So let's say our public officials purchase $50 million worth of stock. Now that Connecticut has announced they are running global COVID-19 trials, the rest of the world starts buying. So everybody else, whether it's regular investors, people who are not philanderers, they're also buying stock. And you know who profits off of that company, Korea Farm? The people who had bought the securities purchases, right? So people like Annie Lamont, people like her partners, they buy up a shitload of stock before they release the truth to the public, so they get rich off their non-public knowledge.
Did I lose?
There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. Are you there?
No, that's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm here.
Moving smoothly.
No.
A little glitch there. I think sometimes when sorry.
Oh, and that's another good point. Look, do you remember how we were talking about Delaware and how it's easier to get start a business than it is to start a library card? Look at the Korea Farm, the one in the middle. It says IRS number, then you go down where it says state of incorporation.
State of incorporation, Delaware.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how they're avoiding stuff.
That's how because you do not have to disclose party identities. Just like Paul Manafort, when he got arrested for those 9 shell companies out of Delaware. That's what's happening here.
Wow, that's so. Just to get that into perspective, because it's a lot of information. It's intense. So that the company registers in Delaware, they can avoid being seen. So we don't have to know those purchases. Somebody, We just know that stock is selling. They got a sweetheart deal with the state of Connecticut. They're
Yep.
taxpayer dollars from the state of Connecticut. What we just
Yep.
saw, a $25 million loan to another company that Annie Lamont is involved with. This is a whole another one that's coming in and doing all kinds of COVID relief stuff. Like they're going to have a drug
Yeah.
that they're going to.
And you know who's going to become a billionaire again off these COVID-19 global trials? The Lamonts. It's their company.
Wow. I mean, this is so as our state struggles to open back up after this long period of lockdown situation where some businesses may never open again. I know there are some restaurants that cannot deal with the restrictions that they're going to be on. I know people like myself, I have a lot of anxiety when I'm like out and people are all like masked up and in rubber gloves. Like, I can't handle it. I don't want to go out. So these policies and the things that he's doing to our life and then robbing us blind to the point because right now we're starting to slowly, when you guys go shopping to the grocery store, are you noticing the price of food going up? Are you noticing the prices are going up? Because I sure am noticing that. And the economic crisis that the Lamonts have just created for us. And then what are they going to do? They're going to tax us. How are they going to pay for all this stuff?
How crazy would Candace, was it Candace? No, the Ingram angle on Fox. I never heard this before, but I never even heard this suggested. But she said, what's it going to take? How long is it going to be until Americans stop paying taxes? We're not getting anything. We're not getting safety. We're not getting financial stability. And I was like, wow, there's this philandering is causing a lot of problems. So
it is, and it's criminal philandering. All right, so shall I pull up the next slide? Oh wow, just unbelievable. All right,
oh, keeps
more.
So interestingly, I only did 2 screenshots, but again, there were many. So if you look at the top, statement of changes in beneficial ownership of securities. This is for Koreaform Therapeutics and Lamont. This was posted recently in June. The changes in ownership date back to February. I just posted the 2 most recent ones. Now, so this means someone owned Korea Farm initially, okay? Someone was in ownership of the stock securities, the financial backing. But that individual, and they do this to avoid detection, transferred those stocks to a broker.
Wow.
And in this case, it's Sharon Shakin and Michael Kaufman. Now, look on the picture on the left and on the right in the bottom. Do you see how it says by spouse?
Yes, I do. I was noticing that.
So it is not when they say that sorry, a little, did I have audio? Okay. So it is not, they are not saying by spouse, like the statement of changes in ownership from a broker spouse to the broker. No, the owning entity, the spouse of whoever, they don't tell you who they're spouse of, but a spouse transferred all the stock. Now, remember, late January, and Lamont entered into contract or secured partial ownership of Korea Farm, Komodo Health, Korea Farm, all those. So their first, again, I just posted the 2 most recent. This one is June, but these transitions in ownership date back to early February. So I just find it interesting that the same time she's entered this partnership, a spouse is transferring all sorts of securities. I find that very interesting.
See, because you don't have to be forthright with this information. Just put a spouse. Just
Yeah,
millions of dollars and all this stuff is being thrown around here and over there, and it's all good, people. We got this under control. This is the systemic problem that
yes.
we have in our country, this kind of corruption which is rampant. And we cannot accept it, guys. We can't. We cannot accept it. We absolutely must stand up to this tyranny because they just don't care. They care about
No.
and we are fodder for their philandering, really.
Yeah,
And we pay the price. We pay the high
yeah,
price in both bad legislation that harms our children, that harms our businesses, that harms our health, that puts our
yeah.
freedom into jeopardy. Those things matter. These are the systemic changes that need to really happen from within, like the work that you're doing, looking below this surface, and it's right there. I mean, this is public information that you can.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know if I had gotten treatment a year into my plight, right? I never, it's like I had to experience every step. I wasn't looking at SEC purchases for Annie Lamont. It's like I had to experience every step. You wouldn't know to look at all these things, even if you're an investigative journalist. My every day of my journey brought me to a next unveiling of some truth. So, yeah,
So beautiful and poignant, um, that because it really is the experience that brings us into that truth. And
yeah,
it's profound, it's really profound. I appreciate you sharing that because that, I feel like that brought me into my own journey in the medical freedom movement and the liberty movement just in general, and having the experience of dealing with being injured by pharmaceutical products like biologics, which are, I don't even want to say it because I don't want to say the word. People know what I'm talking about. Biologics.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Biologics. That's how I'm going to refer to it from now on because and then I'll pick up in the algorithm too. But personal experience can really transform our lives, and I think a lot of people who are at this point thinking like everything's okay on the surface, like it's not, like people elected Lamont.
yeah.
I did not vote for him. I didn't care for him.
But he bought his votes.
He did buy.
Invested, he invested 16 million of his own money. That should be illegal.
That's crazy to be the governor of Connecticut. The way that we really need to get our rights back is state in our own state and getting it through our legislative process. Like, I'm excited for the next race for governor, and hopefully I will stay excited as I get into
Yeah.
who they pick, because I was really upset with who the Republicans picked because I just didn't think that he could beat Lamont, and he obviously didn't. And he's looking like the front runner again, even though it's a couple years away. I'm hoping now, as a registered Republican, that I can have a say in who's governor, because I'm going to be at the primaries definitely voting. That's why I registered as a Republican, because yes, I'm a pissed off ex-Democrat. So a pissed off ex-Democrat. So, but politics on both sides of the fence, whether it's blue team or red team.
Yes. And no one's, and I like, I don't like finding this information. I I cry. I cried a lot more in the beginning because I was like, this is not possible.
Yeah.
But then, and like, when you look at the money and you look at where the money's not going, it's like it's upsetting. It's not like I enjoy like revealing true government corruption. No, but what can you do? And yes. So next picture.
Next
Oh,
picture.
here's where it gets really good.
Get on to the next picture here. Let me see here. All right. Oh, so Form SC 13GA.
Yes. So, statement of acquisition of beneficial ownership by individuals. Korea Farm is not owned by the public. It's not owned no longer. No longer is it owned. It was never, it was always a private company, but they really market themselves as investors for the greater good. So in June, recently, a few days ago, all of the owners, Korea Farm, excuse me, Therapeutics, a bunch of individuals secured ownership of the company. So, and then, so that happens. And then the middle picture here, it talks about it lists Korea Farm Therapeutics. Okay, who are the companies that are now self-described individuals owning, who acquired, right?
66 Fifth Avenue. 666 Fifth Avenue.
Yeah,
Can't make this stuff up.
look at this. Cayman Islands, Delaware, Cayman Islands, Delaware, Delaware, Delaware. So, okay,
This is
now, so that's what we see. So then if you look to the right, you see the comment on this page where it's a picture.
oh, let me see the comment.
Ooh, hello?
I can still hear you. No, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah, you're back.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I could hear you just fine. So
Oh my.
on this page.
So you see that picture, it's a comment on the thing.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at, yeah, so click on that.
Let me get that. Sorry about that.
Well, what do you know? These are all the companies listed on the SEC in the photo before. Millennium Group, those Cayman Islands, Delaware, Millennium Group, Millennium Management, all these.
Gosh, look at this.
Yes, so these mofos are they now own exclusively Korea Farm stock. So when this trial, and they are going to be involved in creating the vaccine. When this happens, these groups, which are, some of them are homes, some of them are, stock entities, just because they say limited liability company, absolute lie. Like 26 Zoe Drive in Vernon is a house. There are, it's just and so these guys, while as Korea Farm stock shoots through the roof, which was intentionally done, these guys are who make the money.
Wow. This is,
and all that money is going to be stored in the Cayman Islands. And yes, in the picture before. Yes, where it talks about Cayman Islands.
let me go back to that. Here, let me get back there. All right.
Yes.
Let me pull this back up for you guys over here. I got the comment on the other side too, so we can see this comment over here. It's visual, and then you can see. Look at this, and I just find it so. Look at these addresses: 666 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York.
But they're
an island.
like referencing the devil.
Yeah, it's like
read.
Synchronicity is a big deal to me, and I do believe in a very spiritual world.
As do I. It gets me through this craziness.
The power of the Holy Spirit. I feel like that's the Holy Spirit saying, look at these coincidences. You can't make it up. It's dirty deeds done with.
Yes.
And they're robbing us blind in the process. This is in oh my gosh. Like,
yes.
We got to bring this down, you guys. This is like right here, this information. So it needs to get we need an indictment against him. He needs to be indicted. Lamont needs to be indicted. We need a full-on investigation into the Lamont administration. We need a full-on. So Representative Greg Fishbein did file a FOIA a while back. This a couple months ago on the Reopen Committee. I should reach out to him and find out what if anything, he's getting. Because sometimes when you go into the FOIA process, so if people out there who don't maybe know what FOIA is, it's Freedom of Information Act. So that enables people to see what our government is doing so we can have access to all their emails and their communications, and that all has to be public. So and the governor's email communications should be public, and they'll say, like, when you communicate with your legislator personally, and they'll send you an email and say this communication can become part of the Freedom of Information Act,
Which it will not.
right?
It's supposed to.
And then they redact stuff. All right, so
That's beyond.
they redact stuff because we've gotten stuff in the middle, thanks to Connecticut Freedom Alliance for doing a lot of FOIAs and pulling out information. We've gotten lots of redacted material, and then go fight. We just had a recent FOIA hearing before all the COVID stuff, which I had filmed for Connecticut Freedom Alliance, and Brian Festa was the attorney, and they're wanting more information that the state was kept redacted, and they play games hiding this information, but we still need, they can't
I
hide.
know you did that. You are so badass.
They
You know, you are great.
are great.
No.
You're uncovering. This is
We only have a couple more to get through, but these are really important also.
why, because we're definitely got a long show today, but that's okay.
I know. We'll fly through these.
Yep.
And this is just a recap of the past, right? Where they put out a little fluff piece.
Oh yeah, that's
So
right.
you
$800 million fund, Oak HCFT is.
That's DSS money, okay? So it says here now on its third fund, an 800 million, blah blah blah. Remember that $784 million transfer offshore? It's Cayman Islands. That's the money. Then it goes down here, 500 million, 600 million for its first and second funds. That it was also transferred offshore. Then and this just a little, people can go back and follow through this, but I know we're running out of time, where it says recently Oak Healthcare and FinTech led a $35 million Series B in Unite Us. Okay, remember that. Next picture.
Wow. Okay.
Now this is, so remember the name Unite Us, but this is just that 780 million, 700, this is that $800 million that she said was her most recent third fund. Yeah, that's DSS money. And it's going to the Cayman Islands.
Now wait, am I on the right slide?
So,
0.85. But wait, did I switch up too soon? Was I supposed to still be over here on her? I just switched to this slide, the 7.885 billion.
so,
Checkbook.
so yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's just, we've seen this before. I posted about this. We talked about it on one of your last shows. But
there's the money.
Yes.
But that's, so just to get the folks that are watching there. So see this circled here that she's. Victoria does a great job of, like, taking us right to where we need to go. So there's the money, and then you can see in this article that we were on before how she had this money. You see?
And look at the names on the names of this transfer: Andrew Adams, Patricia Kemp, and Anne Lamont. These are all the names on these transfers. Okay, and then there's a comment, a picture, where that's the $600 million fund, where they talked about that in that.
Yeah.
And look at the name. Oh, there we go. 600 million. Anne Lamont, Andrew Adams, Patricia Kemp. And this partnership is out of Delaware.
Wow.
So, moving right along, next picture.
Oh, there she is again.
So this one says Connecticut Hospital Association partners with Unite Us.
Yep.
So it's that picture before, recently Oak Healthcare. You don't have to go back to it because I put it here. The $35 million Series B Unite Us. That's her company. And they did it is such, you cannot give your wife, you cannot be a private investor getting contracts when your husband is a public official. So you see the picture on the right here, Connecticut Hospital Association partners with Unite Us to launch network. You cannot do this.
Wow.
So like, do you know how many millions, if not billions, Unite Us now runs the financial technology for the Connecticut Hospital Association. Unite Us is a private investor entity.
Wow.
So she got this money from, wherever she got it, and and that's why they don't tell you all the details in every article. Like, they don't talk about the Connecticut contract on the picture on the left in that article. They don't. You have to find these things separately. But that is her company. And not only is that not the real name, it's actually legally Unite USA. So that's what they do. And then they'll trade stock under the parent company.
Which would
Okay?
USA?
Yes. Yes.
So
And that is
Unite Us is their nice public. This is us, but like who they're trading is under Unite USA
out of Delaware.
out of Delaware. Well, of course, out of Delaware.
Right. Next picture.
Right. Wow.
Now, this just goes in again. This is just another example, right, that talks about Unite Us. What is Unite Connecticut? Now, this also talks about, if you look at the money, where it says, so she secured a $35 million Series B. This is it, right in the middle here. The SEC purchase, $35 million. See that?
Yep.
Total amount sold, 34 million, blah, 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 blah. Straight, she declined to disclose. You see the arrow in the middle there, where it says, so on that SEC page, the first red arrow says Unite USA, and then the next red arrow on the bottom says decline to disclose. Of course she did decline, because it is such a conflict of interest. Like, you can't do this. It's illegal. And she's now running the financial
Wow. This is like, holy cow.
And then if you click on the comment, so the comment photo on that same picture, conservation and development is a category for, so OpenCT, Open Checkbook, all the money gets categorized under different funds, different vendors, different blah, blah, blah. Technology, healthcare technology gets categorized under conservation and development. So if you plug in I plugged in the dates, and 34,904,000 came in and left Connecticut between in a period of 3 weeks. Now, right now, the contract that she secured was for 34,753,000. Do you see that? How it's
I totally
so. I mean, I'm not saying this is exact, but this is their MO. So they'll, you know what I mean? Like, and it's bananas.
It is bananas. So this is how they're pushing all this money out of the state going into these companies, this money.
Yes.
And we're
next picture. And we're almost done. This is the end.
Okay, here we go.
So,
Public corruption laws.
I thought it was really important to end with, I mean, why do we even have laws? You know, if it's like, so legislators, public employees, and other public servants, sorry, I think I had a look, there we go, may face severe consequences for violating the public trust. You can't just shit on public trust. You can't. There's a vast range of penalties. I just listed a few here on the right. These are straight out of Connecticut general statutes. Receiving a kickback. So people equate kickback to doctors, but it's not just doctors. So Lamont indirectly profiting off his wife's private profits, that is a kickback. Intentional violation of the code of ethics for public officials, if the benefit is over $1,000. So when they say intentional violation of the code of ethics, that's disclosure laws, that's contractual obligation laws. There's a whole ton of ethics laws. I didn't post them all here, but then so those two are Class D felonies. If you go down, Class A misdemeanor, improper disclosure of bid or proposal. You cannot. He can't. I mean, here are just two felonies and one misdemeanor he's committing. Okay? Now, we don't have to go to the comment picture. People can look at that on their own, but it just goes into no public, or maybe you want to, but no public official or state employee shall, while serving, this is federal, like this is, you can't do this. No public official or state employee shall, while serving as such, have any financial interest in or engage in any business, employment, transaction, or professional activity in which a substantial conflict of interest exists.
Wow.
We talked about you cannot do that. And because he and his wife are super involved in substantial conflicts of interest, this is against federal law. Okay? So, and then quickly this says, no public official or employee or member of official or employee's immediate family member or business shall ever enter into a contract with the state valued at more than $100. So all these contracts that she's entered are there is legal federal grounds to get that money back, because she secured those contracts illegally. And it says, unless the contract has been awarded through open and public process, but it was not. Lamont suspended that law with his Executive Order 7GG. So all of these contracts were secured illegally. The very last picture, and then we are done.
Right. So, I like that we're finishing up on these things, because this is how we get them, guys. We got to use the law. The law is in our favor. We need to make them accountable. All right, what we got here?
So there is, I spent like 3-4 hours reading campaign finance laws, and I didn't even, there's thousands of pages, but I thought so this is where, so in Division B, campaign finance and campaign finance transparency, so under subtitle severability, which is basically the state can sever ties with any public official who commits these violations. This is like not, so on the right here, I am always talking about shell companies, how they are illegal, how all that. So let me just read this. Criminals, terrorists, and corrupt government officials frequently abuse anonymously held limited liability companies, also known as shell companies, to hide, move, and launder dirty money derived from illicit activities such as trafficking, embezzlement, bribery, exploitation. Ownership and control of the finances that run through these shell companies are obscured to regulators and law enforcement because little information is required, right? Because you don't have to do that in Delaware. You don't have to disclose, all these things. Now, what can we do? Congress should and is supposed to curb the use of anonymous shell companies, okay, for illicit purposes by requiring United States companies to disclose their beneficial ownership. Congress should examine the money laundering or terrorists financing risks in the real estate market. I'm always talking about the homes these people are purchasing, and so some of these homes are they get purchased empty. So a business will be registered to a $3 million home on Fifth Ave, not because one of our employees is moving in, because they're going to own the real estate stock, and they will profit off any home, any person that moves into that home, any hike in prices, any change in rent. That public official now owns that real estate investment. So yes, like and these are, I mean, these are real, these are known things that are going on in our government, and it is so beyond rampant in Connecticut. Beyond.
I, somebody were we discussing this last week? Where Connecticut was rated as one of the most corrupt states in the country. Um, I've been in Connecticut a really long time. I moved up here from New York, which New York, they got to deal with Cuomo. So that
I
uh,
don't know who's worse.
and it's so, and but I've just seen over the years that I've been here, it's gotten harder and harder to live in this state. And
Yes.
they, back in, was it last year? I was very active up at the the legislative office building, lobbying and advocating against tolls to stop the tolls. So I went
Yeah.
to a banking committee hearing, which was really fascinating because the first step to tolls, and this would be an interesting place to start following some money. So the first step to tolls that I had discovered through a great article that was in the Black Agenda report, and through the tolls, they were they they wanted the banking system to start this debt capital. So the tolls were built. It was. I'm trying to get to the point without going on too long because we'll wrap it up soon because we've been streaming for today. But
Oh no, there's just so much.
so much. So with the financial aspect of this, so as I'm sitting in this hearing, which you got the clerks, they look like bouncers. Okay,
They really do.
look like
It's like, oh, am I in the right place?
the banking committee. They followed their own rules in the banking committee with, like, usually you can see who's testifying and whatnot. But anyway, there's the big guy, this big head of a big bank, comes in with his like $6,000 suit talking about how wonderful debt capital is, and public quasi partnerships, so you can avoid all the problems that you have to deal with when you have to go through the legislative process, which benefits people like us. So they
Yeah.
raving on about the debt capital, usury, fines, and fees, and how they're going to turn our roads into an investment property for wealthy bankers. And that's where I discovered at that banking committee meeting about the Green Bank. They like to call it the Green Bank. And the mayor
Yeah.
of Hartford comes in.
Yes.
I know Hartford. I've had a studio in Hartford. Hartford is a black and brown city, and this
Yeah.
mayor, he was lily white from Greenwich, and he
Yeah.
he had no connection to Hartford. He had
No.
zero, and he's still mayor. He's mayor is the second term now. I found it wonderful to see the Black Lives Matter take over the mayor's office the other day, and this guy to be out there dealing with
Yeah.
that he's supposed to serve, but he doesn't. He's very politically connected. You start looking at him, and you say, "Oh, that," because he's in there testifying how wonderful this debt capital is going to be for like Hartford. And
Anything with debt, anything with the word debt in it is,
bad,
it's not wonderful.
bad. And then they want to do this in these public quasi partnerships. And then one of the we called her old troll, Alex Bergstein, Senator Alex Bergstein out of Greenwich. Um,
Courts.
she bragged about
Yeah.
devalued properties are going to attract people, and we need these tolls because people, the wealthy. She doesn't say it just like that, I'm paraphrasing, but she's saying the tolls are going to help bring in the high-speed train. Wait, what? The tolls? So that people.
Yeah, and the tolls are going into, there's a new private transportation fund through the DOT,
Yes.
and all the toll money, everything, that's not going to us.
And so we're very.
That that's not.
No, it wouldn't go through us, and we killed it. It died, and I don't want to get too far off base from what we were talking.
Yeah.
We're not talking about tolls, but just the banking committee meeting was fascinating stuff. We should, when the Capitol opens back up, we have to fight for our rights to be like normal human beings and be up at the Capitol for these things. Because sitting in one of them hearings is very enlightening. It really is. And it was very disturbing. Debt capital, usury fines and fees, making money off of your work, blood, sweat, and tears on the roads that you already pay for, just like they're taking our tax dollars. I'm going to go back to the slide here. They're taking our tax dollars. They're it's illicit money, undermining our democracy, and it totally,
Yeah.
it's a terrible thing, and they doing it in like broad daylight, and there it is, and we gotta hold their feet to the fire. It's when you take a ride down the financial rabbit hole, it's very intense, and it's
Very intense.
very, very intense. There's a lot of twists and turns. It doesn't.
No matter how deep you go, you're never going to find something that doesn't connect to the next.
Yeah, this has been one.
It goes so, and I was just looking for, yeah, it's so deep that it's shocking, and I mean, these are real laws being broken, right? Absolute violations of state, federal, and constitutional law. So we're talking about this. People are talking, people are posting. So the fact that it's not being addressed just kind of shows how complicit they all are.
Well, this is.
Yeah.
Yes. Our media is found. I give kudos to. I'm gonna pull that last slide back up as we close out.
Yeah.
I'm going to give kudos to the Connecticut Mirror for publishing this article that you guys could go check out yourself. Sorry if you guys hear me clicking there. That you guys could go check out yourself. I'll pull it up real quick here again for you. So the Connecticut Mirror did cover this. And Lamont is totally acting illegally. All of his executive orders, all of what he's doing is just totally unconstitutional. It's awful. The Connecticut Mirror did a good job. That's what journalism is supposed to be. That's what.
Yeah.
So when the Hartford Courant, they did run that article, good, they didn't really do enough. And they're all in bed together, they're all connected. When you have that much control over money, and the way that they snuck these laws in to consolidate our media into a very small handful of companies, where one board table ends, another meets. Annie Lamont and Ned Lamont are heavily connected. Ned Lamont is from the House of Morgan. He inherited a lot of money from his grandfather, Thomas Lamont, who
was besties with Woodrow Wilson, and and his father works in the Nixon administration, It's very, very, yeah.
It's a deep systemic problem, but we got to keep talking about it, keep writing about it, keep sharing it, bring this information up, and let's find a good lawyer.
Yes.
Is ready. So what can we do? There's a homework assignment for everybody tuning in. What do we do?
Yeah.
We need to get this before an ethics panel. I'm going to tag my friend Brian Fessa in this. He's an attorney, and see, we got to get this. This has got to be seriously looked at. This is a crime, and this has got to get into the judicial system. An indictment. Hey, we saw Roland go down.
Yeah, we did.
Go down. And this is.
And just before we end, I just want to read these two lines. This is my pocket constitution. Best $10 I ever spent. Okay, and this is from the Declaration of Independence. Okay, just these last few lines here. When a long train of abuses and assertions, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is the right of the people. It is their duty to throw off such government, to provide new guards for their future society, for themselves and their children. So, guys, we're not annoying. It's annoying. It sucks that the truth is seen as a dirty thing. Those who are looking for the truth are annoying. They're problem causers. We're supposed to be the problem solvers. And according to our founding fathers, we have every right, and it is our duty to speak on the truth and overthrow tyrants.
That's right. Great, great words to end on. And you know something that you ended on that there is this beautiful little redhead girl. She's adorable, about 12 years old, and I met her up at the Capitol at a Open Estate rally and
Mm.
read that quote. She had written it down. So her mom and dad had a beautiful illustrated book that somebody was like throwing away of the Constitution, but a big, beautiful with like the illustrations. And she was reading it, and she had her journal, and she had written down that quote. And this
Wow.
beautiful little redhead young woman, probably 12 or 13 years old, was, empowered with that and that knowledge. And it just filled me with so much like hope and
Yeah.
inspiration, and what a great family they are. And I just appreciate that. That's why I say the Bill of Rights and the Constitution are worth fighting for. Don't throw it out, guys, because times these people don't want us to have these rights. They want to hide. They want to operate in secrecy. As we can see, the work that Victoria unearthed for us is right there. If we truly were without a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, we would not have the ability to publicly talk about this, to get this information. We still have those rights. We have to fight really hard for them. It's up to us to keep them, to demand change, and to really root out the systemic problems in our state. We start by taking back our rights through our local communities and our local state. And Connecticut is, Ned Lamont is and Annie Huntress Lamont. Let's just close out here and show her picture one more time. Annie Huntress Lamont is making lots of money off of our hard tax dollars that we work our butts off for. We have less and less money, each citizen. The poor are getting poorer, the middle class it's shrinking, and the very wealthy 1% at the top of the heap are reaping in untold amounts of money. So thank you so much for your work. I appreciate it.
I didn't have anything better to do, and I just it's my pleasure. I don't work right now because of what's going on, so I feel like this is kind of my contribution.
Oh,
You know,
well, we're going to do this for as long as there's so much information. I appreciate you and the hope and the inspiration that you give. Having a diagnosis like ALS. Well, I want to talk about that too, about what your treatments are and your future is, and if you want to discuss that, because we need to raise awareness on that as well. And the ALS journey led Victoria to uncover, because I was reading your Medicaid post the other day, so maybe we should spend time like really digging into what you found with the Medicaid, because I'm like, oh my God, the Medicaid. Oh, what? I mean, we could go hours with that. But
I know.
We'll finish up now before we give too much away. Thank you so much, Victoria. I appreciate it. And guys, if you want to, you can go to jcherrypresents.com and you can hit the donate now button if you want to support the work that we're doing here. We're a nonprofit organization, and its goal is to educate the public, to spread the information around that people aren't talking about. So I will see you guys. We'll be live again on Friday, and we're going to be talking about the masks and the mask ordinances. And I have a special guest. It's a hairdresser, and she wants to talk about the reality of being in a mask for 8 hours a day, cutting people's hair, and what that reality really looks like, and how we can work together to, not have these mandatory medical procedures of any kind. So we'll see you guys Friday with that live.